My name's Jonah. I'm 33 years old, work in tech, and for the past 8 years, I've been quietly paying my parents' bills. All of them. Water, power, groceries, insurance. Even the cable they constantly complained about. Too many commercials for how much we're paying. My dad liked to grumble, never realizing the bill came out of my account. It started small, just a one-time thing when mom called crying about the mortgage being late. But one time turned into once a month, then into a silent agreement I never signed, but somehow got bound to anyway. They never asked nicely. It was always passive-aggressive guilt trips. It's what family does, or after all we've sacrificed for you. It's the least you can do. There was no discussion, no thank you, not even a nod of acknowledgement. Just the assumption that I'd handle it. And for a while I did, because I thought I owed them something. I thought maybe if I kept helping, they'd eventually see me as more than just the quiet kid who didn't go into sports, didn't party, didn't cause trouble. I was the responsible one, the boring one, the one who could be counted on, mainly to fund whatever they couldn't afford but insisted they deserved. They lived in my house. That was the other thing. A few years back, they'd gotten into some debt, credit cards, a failed timeshare investment, something about a business opportunity that my uncle roped them into. I was living in a one-bedroom condo downtown, but the market was dipping, so I bought a modest two-story house in the suburbs, mostly for the investment. When mom and dad said they needed a place to crash temporarily, I said yes. Temporarily turned into 6 years. At first, I didn't mind. I figured they'd get back on their feet, that it was just a rough patch. But they never tried. They never planned to. My dad sat in his recliner most of the day, flipping between cable news and old war documentaries, complaining about how young people don't know the value of hard work. My mom filled her days with online shopping and drama with the church ladies. Every so often she'd mention how exhausted she was from doing everything. Even though I cooked half the meals, did most of the grocery shopping, and handled every bill. It wasn't even the money that got to me, not at first. I make a decent salary, and I'm pretty frugal. What wore me down was the entitlement, the constant backhanded comments. My mom once told me, while folding laundry in my house, "It's sad you're still single. You must be doing something wrong." My dad liked to remind me that real men don't sit at desks all day. When I got promoted to senior developer last year, I told them at dinner. My mom didn't even look up from her phone. My dad grunted and said, "So does that mean we're finally getting a new car?" Still, I let it slide. I told myself they were just old-fashioned. That maybe I was too sensitive. That's what they always said growing up. But what happened 3 weeks ago changed everything. I had just come home early from work. Big deployment got pushed back, so I left around 3 p.m. I parked quietly and came through the side door, figuring I'd grab a quick shower before my usual evening run. I didn't announce myself. They didn't hear me. I stopped at the edge of the living room when I heard my name. They were sitting on the couch, scrolling through travel websites on mom's tablet. Mom was laughing. "Rome's going to be amazing. Maybe we'll finally get some peace away from Jonah's moods." Dad chuckled. "We deserve this trip. After all we did raising him, he owes us." Mom didn't hesitate. "Exactly. He's just a wallet with legs." I didn't move, didn't breathe. I just stood there, frozen behind the hallway wall, my bag still slung over one shoulder. My heart dropped, not in some dramatic way, but like something in me just shut off. Like a light switch flipped. All the quiet forgiveness I'd carried for years, the excuses I made for them, the mental gymnastics I'd performed to justify their behavior, evaporated in a single moment. They didn't know I was in the house. I went upstairs like a ghost. Showered. Changed. Ate dinner in silence. Neither of them noticed anything was off. They were too busy arguing about whether to book this skip-the-line Coliseum tour or not. That night, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about the things I'd done for them. Every dollar I'd sent. Every sacrifice I'd made. The dates I canceled. The vacations I never took. The job offers I turned down to stay close in case they needed anything. I remembered the night 5 years ago when I found Dad drunk on the porch after his friend passed away. I sat with him for hours while he cried and told me I'd never understand what it meant to be a man. I remembered the time Mom guilted me into skipping my best friend's wedding because she said the dog was sick and needed me home. The dog was fine. She just didn't want to feed it herself. I thought about all of it. Then I got up, walked into my office, opened my laptop, and started making calls. First, the realtor. Then the lawyer. Then the moving company. I kept it quiet. Everything done by email, by private message. The accounts were all in my name anyway. Utilities, mortgage, the car lease, even the Costco membership. They didn't know how to log into a single one of them. They didn't know anything, because they'd never cared to. Because I'd always handled it. Because they thought I'd always keep handling it. The sale wasn't instant. It was a quiet, pre-market agreement with a young couple who paid in cash. The listing never went public. The buyer toured while my parents were out one afternoon, shopping, I think. I boxed up everything I wanted, my clothes, my computer, a few photo albums, and started slowly moving it to a storage unit and then to a furnished apartment across town. Bit by bit. They never noticed. The lawyer helped draft the notices. A polite but firm termination of occupancy, set for the week after their flight to Rome. The timing worked out better than I expected. Their trip was scheduled for 12 days. The day after they left, I finalized the closing, cleared out the rest of the house, shut off the power, canceled the internet, sold the car. I left one thing behind. A note. Typed. Simple. Taped to the fridge. Find a new wallet. And then I left. They're still in Rome as I write this. Still blissfully unaware. I imagine they're sipping wine in Trastevere, taking selfies at the Vatican, maybe even talking about how lucky they are to have such a devoted son. I check my email every morning just to see if they've caught on. Nothing yet. But tomorrow is Sunday. Their flight home lands at 3:15 p.m. And when they pull into the driveway, if they even make it that far, there won't be a house waiting for them. Not the one they knew. Not the life they thought they had, built on my silence and sacrifice. And when the moment hits, when the realization lands, I won't be there. I won't pick up their call. I won't answer their texts. Because that chapter is over. And I'm not their wallet anymore. I didn't sleep much the night before their return. Not out of guilt, God, no, but out of anticipation. The kind of wired, hyper-alert stillness you feel before a storm hits. I lay on my new mattress in my new apartment, staring at the glow of my phone's screen as the minutes crawled by. I kept refreshing the flight tracker. It landed at 3:12 p.m., slightly ahead of schedule. Terminal B, Lufthansa. By 3:45, they'd probably cleared customs. By 4:15, they'd be pulling into the driveway. And by 4:17, the panic would begin. I didn't have to imagine what they'd see. I knew what the house looked like when the movers were done. Empty, quiet, gutted. Every single piece of furniture they claimed as ours was gone because it wasn't ours. I bought it. Every chair, every dish, every photo on the walls. Even the curtains. The place looked like an abandoned Airbnb listing. The power had been shut off for 4 days by then. No electricity, no running water, no heat. Not that they'd need it in the early summer, but still. The grass hadn't been mowed. The trash bins were gone. The mailbox taped shut. And of course, the car was missing. I'd terminated the lease and turned it in 2 days earlier. It was under my name. Always had been. They never paid a single installment. At exactly 4:36 p.m., my phone lit up. Mom texted. Where is everything? Dad texted. Did someone break in? Call me now. Followed by 6 missed calls in 2 minutes. I turned my phone over and walked to the kitchen, calmly poured myself a glass of iced tea, and sat by the window. Then came the group chat. The family chat. You know the one. The digital cesspool where birthdays are forgotten and petty complaints are broadcast like national news. Mom texted. Jonah, the house is empty. This better be some kind of sick joke. Dad texted. Don't ignore us. I'm calling the police if you don't answer. Mom texted. Did we get robbed? Mom again. Where is the car? Then finally, Mom texted. What did you do? That one made me smile. Short. Panicked. Less shouting. More fear. It told me everything I needed to know. I waited 10 more minutes, then opened my phone and snapped a photo of my new view. My new place overlooks the river, with wide windows and soft gray lighting that hits just right in the late afternoon. I framed the shot so the corner of my minimalist dining table was visible. My new life. Quiet. Unbothered. I sent it to my mom. No caption. Just the picture. She didn't reply. But 30 seconds later, my phone rang again. I watched it vibrate. Let it go. Then I silenced it entirely and slipped it into a drawer. The next morning, I checked my email. 6 messages. 2 from my mom, both subject line, emergency. 1 from my dad with the subject, are you insane? And 3 from my aunt. One of them CC'd to half the family, titled, What Jonah Did. I didn't open any of them. Instead, I clicked into the security footage from the front door camera. I'd left it running, secretly wired to a battery pack. Just for curiosity. The footage was gold. They pulled into the driveway in a taxi. Their suitcases were stacked in the trunk, one of them wrapped in a bright pink ribbon from the airport carousel. My dad was wearing his tourist fedora. My mom was in wedge sandals and a knockoff Gucci scarf. They were smiling, giddy, until they noticed something was off. Mom went up the steps first, key in hand. She tried the door. It opened. She stepped in, and she froze. Even through the grainy lens, I could see her body stiffen. She turned back toward my dad, who was still at the car, waving at the driver to stay. She said something. He shrugged. She waved him in, and then they were both inside. Less than 10 seconds later, they re-emerged. My dad started shouting, pacing in the driveway, throwing his arms in the air. My mom stood on the porch with her hand over her mouth, like she was trying not to vomit. She took out her phone, started dialing. My dad tried the garage. It didn't open. He looked inside one of the windows and kicked the door. That's when she found the note. She didn't read it right away. She stood in front of the fridge for a few seconds. Then she slowly reached out and peeled the paper off. Her lips moved as she read the 3 words. Find a new wallet. And she screamed. She crumpled the paper and hurled it across the kitchen. She turned and grabbed her phone again. But this time, I could see her hands shaking. My dad stormed outside, kicked over one of the flower pots, and marched to the edge of the lawn like he thought maybe this was some big prank and the neighbors were in on it. Then he stopped, pulled out his own phone, started filming the empty garage like it was a crime scene. They were trapped. The taxi had already left. No car, no lights, no running water, no furniture. Just the hollow echo of their entitlement bouncing around inside an empty house they never paid for, never maintained, and never respected. The footage ended there. I closed the laptop and leaned back. The silence in my apartment felt different now. Heavier, but not in a bad way. Like something had been unplugged. Like the air itself had room to breathe. I didn't feel guilty. I felt free. They raised me with the belief that family meant owing them forever. That love was measured in obligations and payments. That my existence was a debt I could never pay off. But they were wrong. And now they'd have to face the truth without me. The first signs of damage control came within 48 hours. I hadn't blocked them yet. I wanted to see how far they'd go, how desperate they'd get before they realized the curtain had dropped and I wasn't stepping back on stage. The group chat exploded again on Tuesday morning. I woke up to 73 unread messages. It started with Mom pretending everything was normal. Mom texted, "Hey sweetie, we're a little confused. Can you come by later today to explain what's going on?" Then the narrative shifted. Mom texted, "If this is about the Rome comment, we were joking. You're being overly sensitive, Jonah. You always take things too far." Dad texted, "You've made your point. It's not funny anymore. Bring back the car." Then came the guilt-tripping phase. Mom texted, "We gave you a home. We raised you. This is how you thank us." Aunt Carla texted, "Jonah, whatever this is, it's cruel. Your parents are devastated. They've done everything for you." And then the accusation started. Mom texted, "You stole the house. That was OURS." Dad texted, "This is elder abuse. You're not getting away with this." That one almost made me laugh out loud. I didn't respond, of course, but I took a moment to reread the closing paperwork. The deed had been in my name from day one. They had no legal footing, just ego. And now it was bleeding out all over the group chat. I didn't answer any of them, but I did get a call that afternoon from my cousin Tara. Tara's always been the black sheep of the family, in the best way. Tattoos, queer, witty, works at a nonprofit that helps low-income families find housing. We'd bonded over the years at awkward holiday dinners, usually by escaping to the garage and drinking from hidden flasks while the others gossiped. "Jonah," she said, half laughing, half whispering, "what did you do?" I hesitated, but then I just said, "Took my life back." There was a pause. Then, "Good. I hope you scorched the earth." Apparently, my parents were already spreading their version of the story. According to them, I'd snapped. That Rome trip had set me off, that I'd gone behind their backs and stolen everything they owned. Dad claimed I used legal trickery to evict them. Mom said I was emotionally unstable and influenced by toxic friends. When I asked Tara if anyone believed them, she snorted. "Uncle Pete thinks you had a breakdown." Aunt Carla's furious. But the cousins? We've been waiting for this moment for years. That night, I got a text from my younger cousin Sam. Sam texted, "You're a legend, dude. Can you take my parents next?" And another from a friend I hadn't spoken to in months. Devin texted, "Heard what happened. Proud of you, man. That took guts." The ripple effect was faster than I expected. Apparently, once the news got out that the house was legally mine and the money had been mine and that I had receipts, screenshots, bank statements, copies of the bills in my name, people started rethinking their loyalties. Some stayed silent. Others reached out quietly, offering support without saying much. But the tone shifted. My parents' smear campaign had backfired. And that's when the final phase kicked in. Begging. Mom was first. "Jonah, please. We're scared. We don't know where to go. Your father's blood pressure is high. We're staying in a motel. Everything's gone." MOM texted again, 10 minutes later. "I didn't mean what I said. I was just venting. You do help us. You've always helped us. I miss you." MOM, an hour after that. "Can we just talk? Face to face? Just dinner. Please." Then Dad, more subdued. "I don't know what to say except I'm sorry. I didn't realize what we were doing to you. I didn't realize how bad it had gotten." He didn't say, "I love you." He didn't say, "Thank you." He didn't even acknowledge the years of manipulation. But it was still more than I'd ever heard from him. Still, I didn't reply. Because I knew the truth now. Their regret wasn't about losing me. It was about losing the safety net I provided. The trips. The comfort. The easy money. The silence. I had been convenient. Now I was gone. They tried calling again that night. Over and over. I left my phone in the other room and went for a walk. There was a breeze. I passed a family on the sidewalk, two parents chasing a toddler who kept giggling and tripping over his own shoes. The dad scooped him up and spun him around. His mom laughed so hard she had to lean against a lamppost. And it hit me. That's what it's supposed to look like. Not entitlement. Not obligation. Not guilt dressed up as love. Just joy. Support. Kindness. It had taken me 33 years to learn that lesson. And it cost me a family. But I'd finally learned it. When I got home, I poured myself another glass of iced tea, flipped open my laptop, and saw one last email waiting. It was from a law firm. My parents were threatening legal action. That's when I decided it was time for the final surprise. I stared at the email from the law firm for a full minute before clicking it open. The subject line read, "Intent to pursue legal action regarding unlawful eviction." Cute. It was from a small local attorney who, judging by the email signature and cheesy headshot, probably handled more parking ticket disputes than property law. But he was clearly trying to sound intimidating. "Dear Mr. Yates, I am writing on behalf of your parents, Mr. and Mrs. Yates, regarding what they believe to be an illegal and unethical eviction from the property located at address. They allege that the transfer of property and removal of their belongings occurred without proper notice or legal grounds. Unless we receive a response from you within 5 business days, we will proceed with legal action." I stopped reading after that. My fingers hovered over the keyboard for a second, but I didn't write back. I didn't need to. They were grasping at straws, swinging blindly at a wall I'd already fortified years ago. Because what they didn't know, what they never bothered to ask, was that 2 years earlier, I'd already prepared for this. It started after one of our worst fights. My mom had thrown a passive-aggressive jab during dinner, saying, "I hope you're saving some money instead of wasting it all on takeout and gadgets." That same week, my dad used my car without asking and got a speeding ticket. When I confronted him, he said, "Relax. You make good money. It's not like it matters." That night, I sat in my room for hours, just staring at the walls, thinking, what if something happened to me? What if they tried to take everything? Would they even blink? So I took action. I got a lawyer. A good one. A real estate and estate planning attorney with a reputation for airtight clauses and zero patience for emotional messes. Over a few months, we set everything in place. The title was legally transferred into a trust, with me as the sole beneficiary. I added ironclad documentation stating that any occupants in the home had month-to-month agreements and could be terminated at will by the trustee. I even had my parents sign acknowledgement forms at the time, under the guise of refinancing paperwork. They didn't read it. They didn't ask what it was. They just signed, because for all their bluster and control, they never really paid attention to the details. They liked playing king and queen of the castle, but I held the deed the whole time. My lawyer, Nina, was more than ready when I sent her the law firm's email. She drafted a response so clean it could have been framed. Your clients were occupants with no ownership stake, as documented by signed agreements dated 2 years ago. The home was legally owned by the Yates Family Trust, and all removals were conducted according to local tenancy laws with proper documentation and notice. Any further communication of a harassing or defamatory nature will be grounds for legal counteraction. We sent it. And just like that, the legal threat evaporated. But the fallout didn't stop there. The next week, I got a call from HR at my company. "Hey Jonah," my manager said, his voice cautious. "This is probably nothing. But someone called claiming to be a reporter doing a background check on you. Said there were allegations of fraud." My blood went cold. My parents had crossed into full-blown character assassination. I told HR the basics, not everything, but enough for them to understand this was a family vendetta and that any calls they got should be forwarded to legal. Thankfully, my reputation at work was spotless, and they were sympathetic. Still, it was a new low, even for my parents. I hadn't expected them to go that far, but I was ready for it, because I had one more card left to play. A few years ago, my mom had begged me to help with her taxes. She hated doing them, always forgot passwords, couldn't figure out what to deduct. So, being the dutiful son, I sat down one Sunday afternoon and handled everything. I created accounts for her and my dad. IRS login, TurboTax, everything. Saved the passwords. Linked the accounts to their emails. I still had access. I'd never touched it, never abused it. But now they were trying to burn my name to the ground. So I didn't do anything shady or illegal. I didn't change their passwords. I didn't mess with their finances. But I downloaded everything. Years of returns, statements, loan applications, mismatched expenses, some very questionable donations, and suspicious deductions. A few years where my dad had claimed disability while also working part-time under the table. I didn't make any threats, but I did forward the documentation to my lawyer, just in case. Nina's response: "If they try anything else, we'll shut them down before they get the sentence out." That gave me peace. And finally, the call stopped. No more messages, no more emails, just silence. Weeks passed, then a month, then another. Word got around the family, maybe from Tara, maybe from someone else, that I'd lawyered up and had proof for every dollar and decision. That I wasn't just some pushover anymore. That I meant it when I said I was done. And the ones who had once laughed behind my back, they got quiet too. By September, my parents had found a small apartment. I heard through the grapevine that it was barely affordable and they'd sold off a lot of their stuff to make it work. No car, no cable. My mom was back working part-time at the church daycare. My dad was, ironically, walking to the library each day to use the internet. They tried inviting me to Thanksgiving. I declined. They sent a Christmas card that just said, "We miss you." I didn't send one back, because I'd already given them everything. Time, money, energy, patience. And when I finally gave them nothing, they showed me who they really were. So I kept my distance, built my own life, got promoted, started dating again, went on a trip to Lisbon, not Rome, and sat on a rooftop at sunset with a glass of wine, smiling at how free it felt to have no messages waiting. No emergencies, no guilt, just me, living, existing, without owing anyone anything. And maybe that's the real revenge, not the note, not the house sale, not even the legal shutdown. The real revenge is peace. A life no longer dictated by people who only saw me as a wallet with legs. They lost that version of me. They'll never meet the new one. And that's the price of treating someone like an ATM instead of a son. You don't just lose the money. You lose the whole person.